Great. Hello, everyone. This is a meeting of the Finance Committee of Great Barrington. We're meeting on Tuesday, February 17th, beginning at 6 p.m. My apologies. We initially were planning on having this meeting at 5, and my brain has gotten older than my body, and I put the agenda out for 6, unfortunately. So we're beginning our meeting at 6. I will read the statements that are required for each meeting. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A, Section 18, and Governor Healy's March 3rd, 2025 order extending remote participation by all members in any meeting of a public body, this meeting of the Finance Committee will be conducted via remote participation. Specific information in the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on town's website. For this meeting, members of the public and committee members may attend the meeting remotely, following the instructions at the top of this agenda, and every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. And pursuant to Massachusetts General Law 7C 30A, Section 20, Parent F, after notifying the chair of the public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of a public body, or may transmit the meeting through any medium. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recordings. Any member of the public wishing to speak at the meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listings of agenda items are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. So I know that we as a town are recording this session, and Anne is recording a backup. Do we have anyone else who is recording the meeting?
It looks like Berkshire Edge is doing a recording. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So we'll go to committee member announcements or statements. I have no announcements that don't pertain to our two main topics on the agenda. Anne?
Yeah, actually, I mean, Rich, did we do the roll call?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's do the roll call. I'm Rich Geiler. I'm here. Anne O'Dwyer.
I'm here.
Michelle Hubert.
Michelle, you're muted.
Are you here, Michelle?
Here. For the record. Right.
And Milena Serna.
Here.
Madonna Meager.
I'm here.
Okay, we are all present. Thank you very much, Anne.
That's okay. I also do have just a quick statement. I don't know how
Very
many
good.
of you know that we had a house fire on Kirk Street today. And I just want to, apparently the structure is in okay shape and nobody was hurt. And I came home to, I think, 8 fire trucks. And I just want to thank all the firefighters who came out and the ambulance squad folks who came out. They really came out and show, and it was great just to know that the response was so significant and so timely. So I just wanted to say that.
Oh, wonderful. Any other committee member announcements? No, we have minutes to approve for January 27th, 2026. Did everyone have a chance to read and review those minutes?
Yes. Yep.
Were any changes anticipated?
Rich, I did have one change to recommend.
Okay.
And this was the section, it was point number 7 in here. I'll put it up on the screen.
Thank you.
And it says we were talking about residential exemption and resort designation. I think the correct term here, and it's possible we didn't use the correct term, but I think for the record, it'd be important to say, I think it's a seasonal community designation. Isn't that correct?
Yeah,
That's the
correct.
term.
I
And I just think for the record, so people understand what we were talking about.
I'm unclear because I've heard both words used, but I believe seasonal community designation ought to
That's
be
the
the
legal term.
appropriate
That's
one.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
legal term. It's the correct term.
Yeah, and I did some
Right.
research on some of the select board minutes, and that's the term. So I think just so that, again, if someone goes to the minutes, they're not confused as to what we were talking about.
Okay, I will inform the person making the minutes to make
Okay.
that one change, but she will also be hearing these minutes.
Right, of course. Yeah, yeah.
Great, thank you. So with that one change, I move that we approve the minutes from January 27th, 2026. Do I
Second,
have a second? I vote aye. Madonna,
Aye.
Milena,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Anne.
aye.
Okay, it's approved. So now we can move into discussion of the residential exemption. As the chair, I just want to say I've looked over all of the information that we had. I wasn't able to do a tremendous amount of searching outside, but my initial feeling is that this really isn't a residential exemption. I feel that this is an exemption that's probably better suited for communities where there is a huge disparity between the most expensive homes and the least expensive homes in the community, and there are many more percentage of second homeowners than there are in Great Barrington. And the reason I say that is because the calculation required for this residential exemption takes the value of all of the residences in the community and divides it by the number of residences in the community and comes up with a figure, which is the average for the average home price. And all homeowners who are full-time residents, according to the law, below whose assessed value of their property is below that amount, receive a particular amount of money off on their assessment value for tax purposes. And those above, they do not. And just having this calculation, it raises the tax rate for everyone in the town. And only those people who receive that amount of money off are paying a lower tax rate, but everybody else is paying a higher tax rate. And because of the calculation in Great Barrington, it looks like a great number of people who are full-time residents would be paying the higher tax rate. So it's kind of another rise in taxes for a lot of people. And just because, as you all know, we all live here and our houses assessments continue to go up because of the valuation of homes, that doesn't mean anything about you doing anything to your home. The home value continues to go up. So my brief assessment of this, I just couldn't get over the fact that it seems to me it is not a residential exemption. So Milena, your hand is up. Please, please go ahead.
Yeah, and I did spend quite a bit of time looking at it myself, and I would just say this, I would not so much get concerned about what is it called, but I think what is more important is what is it gonna deliver. And if you look at some of the calculation that I think the team at the town hall put together, I think it was the assessor, you will see that really the purpose of this particular policy is to provide a tax relief to people who live in more modest homes. Okay, and if she is doing, and this is for the purpose, I don't know if that was already discussed as the target amount, but at the 20%, what you will find out that 90% of full-time residents would receive some kind of a tax relief, and that, of course, would vary depending on the assessed value of that particular taxpayer. So I think that, this is an example of a progressive tax rate, and people may have issues with that because really it's saying we think that those who have more should pay more, but there will be, of course, some people who may have, a high value in their home, and yet they may have a low income. And I think there are also for those individuals, the town has these, I think there are four policies that should be helping those taxpayers who happen to live in large homes and they have a large tax liability, and yet they don't have the income. And I think that's a good thing to have. But however, I would just say, it is something that I think we really have to think about, thoroughly, and not necessarily because it's gonna impact us individually or it will impact our friends or our family, but we should look at it as what it's gonna do for the community. And that's what I would like people to kind of focus on. And maybe some of us will actually be paying more than others. But I think if the benefit of it is that it's gonna bring a tax relief to 90% of full-time residents, I think that's something to seriously consider. And what I did today was I spent some time looking at the Massachusetts Division of taxes, the tax, whatever, what is it called? And frankly, to tell you the truth, I look at the tax bills that are paid by the 360 communities in the state of Massachusetts. And I look at the tax average bill that Great Barrington taxpayers pay, and I'm shocked because we are basically among the top 100 most expensive communities in the state of Massachusetts. And I look at the 12 of our neighbors, the neighboring communities. I didn't do it for the entire county. And what I found out was we have the highest tax bill of any of those towns. And that takes into account even communities where the assessed value is very high because their tax rate is much lower. So what I'm trying to say is we are really at a very important moment and we have to think about it. What is it we're gonna do? Because I really feel the taxation is not sustainable, really. It is not. And we know that the school district will be coming to us with a budget that is already at a double-digit growth. So, this is kind of the context I would like to present to the board because it is a difficult conversation and it isn't, as with any other policy, there will be winners and there will be losers. You will never have a policy that's going to satisfy everybody. That's pretty much given. But I really feel that we need to start thinking in a more creative way, how we can still make this community somehow affordable to people who don't have the resources and they need to be part of the community because they provide, essential services to all of us. So that's where I stand on it.
May I ask a question, Milena? You
Sure.
had mentioned that your research found that 90% of homeowners in Great Barrington, that the value of their home, the assessed value is less than 569,000?
That if you look at the presentation that was put together by the town team, you will see that basically what they are saying is if you, assuming that the exemption is at 20%, right? Which I didn't know. I didn't really know what was the distribution of the home values in Great Barrington. So I was actually quite surprised to see that number. But if you look at the numbers, at the calculations that they ran, what they are saying is, look, based on the valuation in Great Barrington, 90% of homeowners would benefit from, provided it is at 20%. It's in the documents there. So I mean, I can look it up and send it to you. So it's a
I
very high
I
number.
did
Yeah.
not see
Mhm.
that anywhere in here.
I will send it to you. Yeah. I will send you a copy
And
of it.
just for clarity, I mean, I'm not concerned about myself. I'm not concerned about myself and my tax rate. I have always been concerned about the people who can less easily afford a raise in
No,
taxes.
and I know that. I didn't mean it personally. I'm just saying, just in general, we have to really think about it, kind of a globally. What is the right thing for the community? I'm not a big proponent of progressive taxation because I really feel it never works the way people intend it to work. But I also, as I said, I'm really concerned about where we stand today and what is coming down the pike with
Mm.
the new school, the growth in the school budget, the Housatonic water, purchase and all that. And I'm just really very, very concerned right now. That's really where I'm coming from. So
I think all of us agree with your concern. I think we're all very concerned.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the context
Who,
is very, very
yes.
difficult. Yeah.
Who would like to go next?
Michelle?
Oh, Michelle.
Michelle has her hand up. Yeah.
Michelle.
Hi, I'm really concerned too, but I'm more concerned on the other side of it. We've been spending way, way too much money in Great Barrington. Way too much. It's out of control. And sometimes we hesitate to say no to some things. I come from the point of view that we have to get in control of our spending. This is, to me, is just a crutch or a band-aid on a problem we're not solving. And so, and Melina, to be quite honest with you, my husband and I would be a couple that would benefit from it. And I don't find it equitable. I think it's going to be divisive in the community. I am not a person who feels that second homeowners are evil. We have many people in our community that make a lot of money due to the second homeowners. Just as an example, my father was a mason. He worked on a lot of homes, second homeowners owned, and that sort of thing. But Rich is right. It's not just about seasonal people who are here on the weekends and that sort of thing. It's also the year-round residents that are going to be impacted. And I already have one sibling that moved out of Great Barrington because of the taxes. And the taxes on his house are now $4,000 more than when he sold it in 2017. And that's due to expenses of the town of Great Barrington. We can't have everything. We can't fund everything. We just can't. And I prefer equity in taxation. This is not based on income. You could have someone, that has been in their house for decades. And as I've said before, is house rich, but doesn't make a lot of money. It's just not the right thing to do. And if it is being looked at, as we're doing now, 21 communities have the RTE. But all of them, I believe, except 2, also have a split tax rate. Well, I think we're only looking at half the equation. Why aren't we looking at a split tax rate as well? And also, it was just said that our taxes are higher than some of our neighbors. Some of our neighbors have the split tax rate. Adams does, the town of Florida does, Lenox does, North Adams does, Pittsfield does, and so on. As a matter of fact, I met with the town manager of the town of Lenox to talk about this. I see Lenox and Great Barrington kind of parallel. They have a split tax rate. There is no problem with businesses moving into their community. And a split tax rate has less of an impact on the residential component. And so also, I have a concern with regard to growing up here of the good old days when you did as much work on your house as you could without getting a permit, and you kind of hit it. Because every time you invoke a permit, your valuation goes up. We're going to be going back to that. People aren't going to be incentivized to improve their homes. My husband and I, we were talking about a garage. We're not doing it now. I mean, that, you know, you have to weigh these things out. That being said, another thing is the rate you to do the RTE, you raise the tax rate. So Q1 and Q2, it seems to me, and Allie can better address this, or Emily, that Q1, Q2, our taxpayers are going to be paying the high rate, and then it more or less gets abated Q3, Q4 if the RTE goes into being. Well, people like me and my husband, we're struggling right now with our taxes, never mind a higher tax rate. So in the end, I really think this is just being used to kind of camouflage our poor financial status right now. I mean, the town manager is talking about Proposition 2.5 override. We're in a deficit and not using free cash. We got to look at other things. We may have to look at reducing the CPA to give taxpayers a break. But this isn't equitable, and I'm just uncomfortable with it. I'm very uncomfortable with it. If I'm a no on it, and that's where I stand.
Before going back to you, Milena, did anyone else have any comments that they wanted to make?
Rich, Emily, town assessor, has had her hand up for a while. Do you want me to promote her to a panelist?
Why don't we hear first from Milena and then let's go to Emily.
Yeah.
Milena.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to respond to Michelle. I mean, Michelle, I'm not suggesting by any means that this is gonna solve our issue, because our issues are, just as you said, they are very, very fundamental and very difficult. All what I'm saying is they are basically, this is a part of the toolbox, how you can make things easier. It doesn't mean that it's gonna solve the issue. I would say also one thing I suggest, and maybe that's something that the finance board could take a more involved role in it, is I have been talking to people who have fairly low income and they have very large homes. So they are assessed a very high value already. They have very high taxes. And I know that for them, something like that would be absolutely crushing. However, what I'm finding out in the community is that people are not fully aware of the various policies that this town has implemented for people who are in that situation. So wherever I go, I try to inform people about the different options that they have, whether it's a tax deferral or whether it's, applying for some of the other exemptions. I think it would be really important, regardless of what happens with this particular proposal, that that policy gets better communicated, because it seems that, and these are people who have lived here forever and ever. So I'm fairly, shocked to see that they don't know anything about those options available to them. But I think it's really important that people understand, if they are in that situation where they have a high, high assessed value and low income, that there are some tools available to them to address that. But again, Michelle, I'm not suggesting by any means that this is going to solve the issue, because the issue is much larger. But I think it can help people, those people who may benefit from this the most. So that's where I'm on it. Thank you.
Michelle, were you still wanting to make additional comments?
Yes, just very quickly, Rich. Thank you. We're talking about the high costs in Great Barrington. We're going to be meeting on the budget starting next week, and we're already drowning. By incepting the residential exemption, even the town manager says it's going to take an exorbitant amount of time to put into place, and there's going to be costs connected to implementing it. Well, where is that money coming from? There's more costs. I want to start controlling costs. I think we should stabilize our budget. Then we can start looking at other vehicles to use. This being said, Melina, I appreciate the fact that there are programs out there. Trust me, my husband and I have looked at them. I'm 68, he's 65. We looked at them. We fall right in the middle where we don't qualify for these things. We just had a conversation before I joined the meeting that we can't retire. As a matter of fact, we may have to pick up other income somewhere because we fall in that middle bracket and we are not.
Michelle, I'm sorry, but you can use the tax deferral program. You totally, there's no qualification for
The
that.
tax deferral is essentially
That's
it's a loan
available.
against your house with the town of Great Barrington. We're at an age where we're not going to encumber our house. We're not going to do that. This being said, think of it this way. My dad built our house that we live in right now. Our community has a lot of contractors out there, and these are people who built their own houses or made improvement on their own houses and everything. And then you look at their homes and you go, wow. And the assessor says, okay, we're valuing it high. But they're plumbers, they're electricians, they're builders and everything. These are not millionaires by any standard. So it's a skewed system. And again, unless we're going to if we're going to look at this, we need to look at the split tax rate. And I haven't seen a presentation yet on that.
Thank you, Michelle. I just want to briefly tell everyone that Liz let me know that she has solicited feedback from all 21 communities in Massachusetts who are using the RTE. It's a good mix of community sizes, and 5 have responded robustly. So all of that material is going to be available on Friday, I believe. One of them has a split tax rate as well in combination with the RTE. So that will be very good to see how that plays out. But I'd like Emily to step forward and give us some feedback.
Well, Rich, do you mind?
I think
I had
Anne
my
wants
hand up.
to say something.
Okay, Anne, sure. We'll go
Yeah,
back to
sorry.
you.
Yeah, if we're gonna go through the committee,
Sure.
I guess I just want to say I feel, similar in many ways. First of all, I still feel like I don't have enough concrete information. The 90%, I'd
I'm
like
not
to
finding
see
it
that.
anywhere.
I'd like to see that in writing. I still don't know what the valuation of the house, what's the sort of cutoff where a year-round resident would not qualify for the RTE. I'm looking at other places that have, I think, Rich, this is to your point, far larger proportions of people who are seasonal residents versus year-round. I just feel like if I even am going to consider this, and then I'm going to make another caveat about that, I need much clearer information than, you know, I don't think I've done as much research perhaps as everyone, but I've gone to every website I could find, every government site I could find, and I am super confused. Secondly, I have looked at the budget booklet that we are going to be looking at in the next few weeks, and I I feel quite honest in saying I will be on cognitive overload. I cannot consider that budget and consider this in the same season. There is no way I can. I think we have a lot to do in this budget season, a
I
lot.
agree.
And that we are being asked to sort of simultaneously evaluate this and evaluate and try to get the budget under control. As Michelle was saying, I think it's too much. I'm not sure if I'm for it or against it because I don't have the information. But I will say I will not vote for it because I don't feel that I can handle that right now. That's just where I'm at. So we can do,
Thank you, Anne.
you can
Thank you,
put it
Anne.
forward, but I'm not going to vote.
Thank you, Anne. So we've heard from Anne and Milena and Michelle and myself. Madonna, do you have any comments or shall we go to Emily?
Yeah, all I want to say is, I agree. I'd like some clearer information, some better steps. But there's a lot to be said about, if we can get some information on 90% of the taxpayers benefiting, I'd be on that. And Annie, I think you're right on tax overload, but what happens is, we get to these points And then we kick the can down the road. Well, we'll just, keep going. And it is a lot, but and that budget book, I've never seen anything larger. I can only think of the congressional budget as being larger in a binder. But I mean, I'm backing Liz about trying to get, our town in a better fiscal shape. And I mean, she's come out at some of our meetings that were pretty impressive. And how she's dealing with the, the town, what do you call it? The sections, whether it be police or DPW. So, I'd like to see 90% of the taxpayers get something, because down the road, it's just going to get higher and higher and higher. If not now, when? And so that's, if not us, who, right?
Thank you, Madonna. And when I think of you in the context of this committee, I think of the perfect phrase that you came up with: is this a need or is this a want? And I think that is certainly my mantra going through our meetings, to coming through to establish what our needs as a community are and not just what we want. So I will, Emily, thank you for raising your hand. Would you please come forward, and we'd love to hear from you. You're still on mute, Emily.
Okay, can you hear
Thank
me?
you. Yes, we can. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So a couple things I would like to clarify. The residential tax calculator auto-populates those numbers. It is up to the town to come up with who would be eligible. My numbers are still not exact because it's a lot of work to figure out exactly who would qualify. Based on looking at it quick of who I think would qualify, I'm at about 55%. So only about 55% of residents would qualify. The break-even point is not determined by the average value. It's determined by the number of eligibility. So again, we don't have that number because it depends on how many people are eligible. The average value just gives you an idea of what the exemption percentage is the exemption amount is determined based on the average value and the percentage the town adopts. I would also like to bring
Right.
up that every year at the tax classification hearing that happens in November, split tax rates are talked about. I talk about them, I give scenarios of them, of what the tax rates would look like for residential and commercial, and what the burden would look like, and what the shift would look like. So those conversations about the split tax rate do happen, and there are presentations. And I don't know if you guys attend the tax classification hearing, but maybe for the future you should. That way you can see the little bit of a picture. And I do a little scenario of like the average commercial value based on the new commercial tax rate. But as far as the residential tax exemption, the calculator is estimated numbers. The town has to fill those numbers in to get the eligibility.
Emily, may I just ask, but the the form that you use to come up with the exact number is the form we see here, right? It is the fiscal year 26 value of all residential properties as one figure, right? Divided by the number of residential parcels. Is that not is
That
that
comes up with
not,
the average value. That does
and
not determine the
value,
break-even point.
that average value is not the break-even point?
No, that just
Okay, please continue.
yeah, it's very like, did you guys get the presentation?
I'm looking at it. I'm
Yeah.
looking at the page called Calculating the Exemption.
Okay, so
And
let
that's
me,
why I'm going off of the residential value of all of the residences divided by the number of properties gives a certain figure.
it gives you the
I
exemption.
asked Liz, And Liz said that is the average price, as according to her understanding, but perhaps that's not correct.
Okay, so there's a lot of numbers that go into this. So if you're on the calculating the exemptions spreadsheet,
Indeed.
okay, you're looking at, and I don't, am I allowed to, can I share my screen?
Yeah,
Um,
I think
I
so.
hope so. Go ahead and give it a shot.
Give it a shot. Anne is the guru here.
Yeah, so, well,
Okay,
this is not my account, but it looks like you're going to be able
It's
to.
spinning because it says
And
Emily. Yes, there
yeah,
you
and I'm
are.
sorry because I have so many documents now, I just can't find that original one. Yeah, okay.
okay, so you can see it on your screen?
Yes, ma'am. We can
Okay,
see
so
it.
it's the top. It gives you the total value of all residential parcels, okay?
Yes, indeed.
You divide that by the total number of residential parcels, and that gives
Yes,
you your average value home. Now,
right.
this is a scenario. So let's say the town of Great Barrington adopts it at 35%. You're going to take that average value, you're going to times it by 35%, and this gives you your exemption amount of 199. That average value home is only there to help you determine what the exemption amount is going to be. Now, your break even point is determined based on number of eligibility. So these are all estimated numbers. So I was just using the average value home as a scenario. This is what it looks like without the tax rate. This is what it looks like with and regardless of whether you qualify for the exemption or not, you're still paying at the higher rate. So you're getting the exemption of the 199,000, but you're still going to be taxed at the $17, not, it's still a split tax rate. So commercial is going to be at 1324, whereas the shift is to all the residential parcels of the 1770. And then your break even point is based on eligibility. So let me
Well, okay.
hold on one second.
Well, let Emily
Okay, so-
Can you see the
explain this better.
calculator?
I do see the calculator, yes.
Okay, so these numbers here, where it says single family, 67%, 45%, when you come to this calculator, it automatically populates these, and it's up to us to fill them in. And these
Can
are
I,
my quick
can I
Just
numbers.
let Emily continue. Let Emily
I just
continue.
don't understand what the 67% is of 67% of what?
Single family homes. So all
Ah,
these numbers are broken out by residential. So these are all your residential parcels. So out of 100% of single family homes, only 67% of them would qualify. Only 45% of condominiums would qualify. Only 56% of two families and three families would qualify. This is where your percentage comes in. And then, and this is a scenario because these numbers are not exact. The problem is you guys are getting these numbers in your head and you're thinking they're permanent. They're not. These numbers can change because I'm doing this so fast trying to come up with numbers that I haven't looked at all the trusts. I don't know if the ownerships are correct. This is just very quick numbers. It estimates a tax rate based on that of $16.11, and our break-even point would be 1,118,000. This is not exact to us. This is a scenario, so this could change. Is there any
So Emily, I think when we were having the presentation, what I had understood is the variables are so many that the only way we could know exactly who would qualify is to actually do it, and then we would know who would qualify. That seems, am I wrong? Is that not what was told us? Is there a way to figure out who would benefit at a particular, or what the cutoff rate for a single family or for a condominium would be if we were to go forward on it at a
based
certain point?
based on different towns that I have talked to, they all went about it different ways. Some of them, the year before they decided to adopt it, sent out applications asking people, is your house owner occupied? The problem with doing that is a lot of people don't respond. So the town that did that had a bad turnout. They sent out, I think they said they sent out something like 5 to 6,000 applications and only got 500 of them back. So if nobody responds, you're still not getting an accurate number. So I would say that you're probably right. We're not going to know who's going to qualify and who isn't going to qualify until we just do it. Or if we don't do it. And it could go either way. It could be really good or it could be really bad.
And so I think waiting to hear from these communities to find out how it actually played out for them, if they went forward with it and then they found out what would actually work, seems to be very, very important information for us to have.
Yes, and I've been talking with them, and there's somebody else that I'm going to be reaching out to. And he's going to give me more insight of the troubles that he ran into when they first did it. And I haven't got it get we've been like playing phone tag. He called me, I called him. We just can't seem to get on the same page. And we are still within abatement season, so assessors are busy with inspections and everything, but he seems like he's going to be a really reliable source of like where we need to go and what direction.
Okay, but I think the majority of us here on the committee are feeling like this is a lot to do
It is a lot
very
to do.
quickly.
It is
And
a lot
it seems like it's better for us to continue to collect information and let you do your job to try to give us more clear direction over time, over a year, say, look at this issue again in a year, or when we're not in the middle of budget season, you know? Does that make sense to you, Emily?
No, that totally makes sense.
Okay. So, thank you very much, and please stay with us because we may have questions come
Yeah,
up.
I'm
Thank
here.
you so
I'm here in
much.
case anyone has
So,
questions.
okay, Michelle, I'm just going to go to you. Did you have some comments?
I do. I'm just very, very nervous about this because I hear these are quick numbers. Yeah, I did this quickly, whatever. This is huge. And I agree with you, Rich and Ann, that this may not be the best time to do this. And I don't see us kicking the can down the road. I'm seeing it as making sure we don't cut our fingers when we open the can. So I think we should put the brakes on a little bit. Also, I have a question, and perhaps, as a matter of fact, Emily, there's very few tax classification hearings I don't go to. I do go to them, and the only thing I recall from them is that if we do a split tax rate, businesses won't come to Great Barrington. But I don't see any evidence of that as far as documentation to that. Also, looking at the RTE, if I understand correctly, commercial businesses and industrial would not be impacted by this. It's fully on the residential, which, hey, if you're a business in my community, you should be either benefiting or taking a hit as much as I do. This being said, we're raising the tax rate for the RTE. So say we do it for a couple years, and then we would decide it's terrible, we're not going to do it. Does that mean that high tax rate goes down?
So
or are we stuck with it?
So the residential tax exemption has to be voted on by the select board every year at the tax classification hearing. They can change the percentage, they can decide they don't want to do it anymore. But that's when it has to be voted on. It'll be voted on every year at the tax classification hearing. Same thing with the tax rates of whether we want a single tax rate or a split tax rate, and we could vote on the residential tax exemption.
But that's not my question. My question
But
is,
it can change each year, is what Emily is telling us.
So
right,
the tax,
I get that. So
the tax rate changes based on the amount of eligibility and the amount of values every year. So
all right, but
if
say
the values,
we don't do it.
I'm sorry.
Say we revoke it.
Can I,
It
And
gets-
it's revoked.
can I try to answer it and you can tell me if I'm right?
Please
So-
do, Ann.
So my sense is, Michelle, that if we stopped it, this increased tax rate sort of makes the FTA possible. So if we revoked it, we would go back to,
a
a
standard.
non-FTA rate, right?
So-
What it would be. So
That's what I'm wondering.
that's
And
my,
that-
so is that correct?
Well, so
Let
every
Emily
year-
talk.
so
Let Emily
every-
speak.
Every year at the tax classification hearing, the select board would still have to vote on a tax rate. So say we come up with a single tax rate of $13. They would vote at the $13, and then they would say, we're gonna keep the RTE at 20%. So based on the new value of the town, based on the new single tax rate and whatever other information, the percentage of the RTE, then it would spit out a new tax rate. The tax rate for the RTE will change every year, the same thing as the single tax rate, and it's all based on numbers. So we still have to adopt the single tax rate every year, and then we have to adopt the percentage for the RTE, and then the new value of the town, the residential parcels, will determine what that tax rate will be.
Okay, so my question is, we're at the tax classification hearing. It's been voted to revoke the RTE. What happens then to the tax rate?
Whatever the tax rate would have been if it was a single tax rate.
Okay,
So that, again, that's based on our levy and how much money we still need to raise. That spits out our single tax rate. So they're two separate things, So the tax rate for the RTE is not the tax rate that we're going to vote on for the town. It's determined based on the numbers, the percentage that's adopted for the RTE.
I get
Yeah,
that. I just want to know what happens if we decide not to do it anymore.
It's whatever our
Because
single tax rate would be. If we decide to do away with the RTE, the tax rate goes back from 17 to 13.24.
That's
Yes.
what I was as an example. That's
Yes,
exactly
that is what would happen.
Yeah.
So, Belena, do you have some comments?
Yeah, I do have. Emily, I have a couple of questions for you. So, it's my understanding, basically, the break-even point will, of course, be driven by the overall assessed value and what you call the eligibility, which means how many are there non-resident and whatever you call it, the owners of land versus the residents, correct? So this is a number that basically will change based on the math, and also based
yes.
on what will be the tax budget for that year, correct?
No, the break even, well, yes, the break even point is determined by the number of people who are
will be
eligible for
qualified.
the exemption. Yes.
Right. And what will be the budget, which means will be the amount of tax that needs to be raised for that particular year.
So that's more of the tax rate. So
Because
we still
that's
have to
really-
make a certain amount of money.
Yeah, but what I'm saying but you have to raise basically what I'm saying, the tax rate is determined by the budget, what do we need to raise from taxpayers in order to cover our budget needs. So
Yes.
yeah, I think we are saying the same thing. The question I have for you is, I have looked at the numbers and I saw that, and I wanted to just double check because I was a little bit surprised. Based on the Massachusetts state database, I saw that Great Barrington apparently has 12.5% of the housing as seasonal residential housing. Is that correct? Is that your understanding? That's what's reported by the town to the state. So I would hope this is the correct number.
Melina,
I haven't looked at that, so I'm not sure.
I'm sorry. What?
I haven't looked at that, so I'm not sure I'm not sure where.
yeah,
I'm talking about this is coming from mass.gov. So they provide the information there. Yeah.
I just have my number that's in my system, which is 351. So out of,
Okay, so you don't have the percentage, what you are saying.
I'm sorry?
You are saying you don't have the percentage because you don't have the number?
I do not have the percentage.
But how many do you have as a seasonal residents? I'm sorry, 300 what?
51.
391 second homes in our system at this time.
91. And what would be the total number?
3,394.
That is correct.
3,000. Okay, so it is about
which gives
12%.
11.5%.
Okay, so it is like about around whatever the number. So, okay, so my understanding was that, and again, maybe that information was not accurate, was that the the other towns who are eligible in the Berkshire County, which is, I understand, Stockbridge, Egremont, Lenox. Stockbridge has about 50% of their residents as seasonal residents. Lenox has about 40%. So they seem to be two communities where they would benefit greatly from something like that, just because of just the mass itself, right? And I was wondering, are you aware of any of the other towns actually pursuing it at this moment, or are you aware of what's going on there? Yeah.
Stockbridge did their own study of it a few years ago, and they determined that they didn't think it would work for them, so they have chosen not to go with it.
And what about Lennox? Do you know anything?
I don't know if Lennox has ever done a study on it or not. The only one I heard of in our
Was Stockbridge, but that was a few years
was
ago, right? Yeah.
Stockbridge. Yeah, I know it
Yeah.
was a big
I
discussion
mean,
in Stockbridge.
yeah,
And I
right.
do know from the Eagle that Stockbridge earlier in the year at their meeting where they determined the tax rate, or at the meeting they discussed this and they decided not to go with an R2.
Right. I think the difference here is, just so that we understand also a little bit what's going on there, because both Stockbridge and Lennox pay, their tax bills are much smaller than ours, though for the average assessed value is much higher. So they are in a bit of a different situation, but I think it's kind of interesting to also take a look at if any other communities around us are pursuing this. I think that would be kind of helpful to know. So I don't know if you ever have that opportunity to talk to people in the other towns, see where they stand on it. That would be helpful to know.
A lot of people bring it up in Pittsfield, where I used to work, but Pittsfield determined that it was not good
Pittsfield would not
because
necessarily be a good
they
candidate
do
for
not
that.
have
Yeah.
enough second homes at all to even begin
Right.
to
Yeah.
cover the
Exactly.
deficit
Yeah.
or the burden.
Yeah. Right. They would not be, but it seems that, both Lennox and Stockbridge would be good candidates. However, their tax bills are much lower. Their average tax bills are much lower than ours, even though assessed value is much higher. So here we go. Yeah.
So Emily, may I just ask a quick question? On the split tax rate, can you tell us in a microcosm, is this just making a different tax rate for businesses as opposed to residential, or is there something more to a split tax rate than that?
So no, just a split tax rate just splits it residential and commercial. So there'd be
Okay.
two different tax rates for the two. It usually works better when you have a community that has a lot of commercial. I believe we have 16% commercial, if I remember correctly.
16 of what? 16% of what?
16% of our total parcels make up commercial.
Got it.
Let's see, I actually have that here. I also have that up here somewhere. Where did it go? I can't find it.
Is there any way, Emily, that you could send us those figures when you can find them? Just the total number of parcels and the number of commercial parcels?
Yeah.
That would be great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Michelle, you had your hand up again.
Hi, talking about Lennox, as I said, I met with Jay Green, who's the town manager up in Lennox. And they, at this time, they're not looking at the residential exemption. And Melina, they do have a split tax rate. So the residents pay a lot lower than the commercial businesses do. And so, so we have to look at that when we're saying, oh, this town has their residents pay less than the town of Great Barrington. Well, the residents in Lennox pay less because they have a split tax rate. And Rich, you mentioned that Liz was doing some research on various towns, And again, I already did, and 21 towns have the RTE, and only 2 did not have a split tax rate. So I was surprised when you said 5. So unless they just made a change.
No, of the town she reached out to, requesting a lot of information from them about how they instituted the RTE and how the RTE has worked, and did they see any issues with it, positive or negative. 5 of those towns out of the 21 have responded so far.
Okay,
So
okay,
there
thank
may
you.
be more responding, but one of the respondents does have a split tax rate. But the
Right, one of the,
RTE, as Emily was explaining, sort of automatically makes a split tax rate. Right, Emily? I mean, it automatically creates a split tax rate when you do the RTE.
but it is, but at the same time, it isn't. Like in my conversation, and even um, you know, one of the proponents of the residential exemption, if you look at some of his previous, Michael Weiss, I'm talking about, um, back in 2015, he did an Edge article. About Great Barrington tax reforms, residential exemption, split rate could benefit most homeowners. So I do feel there hasn't been a thorough presentation. I mean, not to the degree of what we're doing right now. I'm not saying a good job hasn't been done before. And I'm not saying that after a presentation, I would support it. But like Anne, I'm saying I just don't have enough information. And it's not, we're only seeing one facet of this. So I would feel more comfortable seeing a presentation on the split tax rate as well.
So, Anne, may I go to you next?
Yeah,
Or do you need to? Okay,
no,
go
that's
ahead.
great. I guess I did read some research. I guess Williamstown considered this the residential tax exemption either in 2025 or 2024. So that's another town that considered it. They did not choose to do it. I did some reading. I found out it was a heated discussion. I didn't find out much more. The other thing, I guess I'm still struggling since we're delving into some of the details, what is the effect on rental properties? I was not clear about that because I know that seasonal communities on the Cape have gone with this. I do want to actually share a screen. I found that, and I also don't know. So these are the communities on Cape Cod that have the residential tax exemption, and they have like really 30% or more, or probably on average 40% or 35% are, oh no, more actually, I guess the seasonal are way higher. So anyway, I guess I'm struggling because I don't know. What I don't understand is like, is it we should go for it because we have about 11.5%, or we should less likely go for it because we have 11.5%. I'm still not sure there. And the other places that seem to have this are places with a significant rental properties. And I mean, I've talked to people in town who rent, and their sense is, well, if rental properties are not going to have the exemption, there's no doubt that the landlords are going to pass those costs down to the renters. So I just don't know what's going to happen with rental properties.
So rental
Emily could,
properties,
yeah,
oh, sorry,
Yeah.
rental properties do
please.
not qualify unless we adopt the seasonal communities. You have to adopt seasonal communities in order for rental properties to qualify. And I believe they only qualify if it's owner occupied, but I could be wrong with that.
Right, I don't know. Yeah.
Milena, you had
Yeah,
more question?
I think I think that's a very valid issue that Anne raised, and I think that's the same issue also to the concept of split rate, because as I'm sure everyone knows, there are quite a few empty storefronts in the town and continue to be so. And I can tell you that if you start raising taxes on commercial properties, what will happen is the rents are already super high. That's why we have a lot of vacancies, and that's why we have most businesses are not really making it through the year. I think that that definitely is something would have to be considered. My other issue, I think, that I wanted to kind of mention for the purpose of the discussion is I think the suggestion there was that residents would have to apply and provide their federal and state tax returns in order to qualify for the exemption. And that I think that will be done just initially when the program would be implemented. And I kind of wonder about that too, because, people sometimes they are here and then they decide they actually want to be in Florida and then they go and there won't be really any tracking mechanism for that. And I was wondering, Emily, if that was somehow discussed or is that a concern or issue?
I'm not entirely sure what you mean. So it is a one-time application that
Yeah, that's what I
homeowners
mean.
would
That is a
have
one-time
to.
application. Yeah, but what I'm saying is a resident may, decide that they are going to go and live 6 or 7 months in Florida and maybe 5 months here after they apply and receive the exemption. So how would you track that if it's
Well,
only?
hopefully they change their registration to vote. Maybe they change their motor vehicle.
So you would be
That's
checking,
something we would have to keep track and try to monitor. So yes, that would add
you would
more
have to,
work
you would
to
be
our
monitoring
office.
those. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm just curious how you would be implementing it. Yeah. Yeah.
I have one other person
And
in
can I just
the.
say sorry, can I just say one more thing?
Yes, of course.
I was wondering if there was any discussion about perhaps increasing taxes, like lodging taxes or taxes that are related to the tourist traffic in Great Barrington.
You mean fees?
Not well, you have these kind of local. If you go and travel different places, you have a bunch of like local lodging taxes that often they just kind of there are like many extra ones, just because they are the community is basically trying to raise additional amounts. And I was wondering if there was ever any discussion about raising any of those local tax
But
rates
I
on.
believe those are set by the state, but that would be a question for Ally. I don't have anything to
So
do
this
with
is
those.
state driven. You cannot do it as a local community. You cannot
No, the only
implement.
no.
No,
That
you
would be a
cannot.
question for Ally. I think Ally would
Okay.
have a better answer for that.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'll ask her that.
We
Yeah.
do collect a significant fees for room occupancy.
Right. No, no, I know. Yeah, but yeah, but what I'm saying is there a way for us to have additional fees? Sometimes you have fees like, for whatever, and, I don't know, water, environment, or whatever, different communities add different fees on top of it, besides what's kind of mandated or allowed by the state. So I was just wondering if there was a way for us to tap into that.
So maybe we could ask Ally about that when we start our conversation regarding the preliminary budget discussion. We have 3 people in the who are attending our meeting who would like to say something. I think at this point,
Rich,
go ahead.
Michelle has her hand up. I don't know if you can see
Okay,
it.
Michelle, what more would you like to talk about?
Oh, Michelle,
Michelle,
you're muted. You're muted.
you're muted.
Sorry about that. Since Melina brought up the tax returns, that reminded me of something. Just as a taxpayer, I'm really uncomfortable submitting my federal and mass tax returns to the town of Great Barrington, since this is not an income-driven program. We're just proving whether the primary residence
Yeah,
is
yeah.
my house. So I'm a little confused as to why you need the tax returns to do that, since if you don't file a tax return, there is other documentation that can be presented. I myself, when you work in a school, as far as school choice and everything, you have to verify residency, and we don't ask for tax returns. I'm just very uncomfortable with submitting my tax returns to the town of Great Barrington. And in doing so, is there going to be a mechanism in place to ensure the confidentiality of those tax returns when they're submitted? I'm just not really seeing why you would need a state or federal tax return. Every time I go to vote, they ask me my address and my voter registration should be sufficient.
I think it's
I mean,
just
I
another way.
agree with
don't-
you. I think that was suggested in the
If we, if we
plan.
could let Emily respond, please.
It's just how the state has it worded. It has it worded to say that if we implement this, this is what we should ask for. I mean, I plan on going about it the same way I go about second homes if it was implemented, is with second homes, I look to see if they have motor vehicle here. I look to see if they're registered to vote here. I look, what is their mailing address that they have listed on their registry, on their deed. And any information that I can find that'll lead me to think that this is not their primary residence is, and sometimes with tax returns, people do list their primary location on there. So, maybe they don't have to turn in the whole thing, but by turning in page 1, we'll know their mailing addresses in Florida or Georgia or wherever it is. But it's just, if the state has it, the state requires that we ask for that if you apply with the
It's a
application.
requirement, so it's a state requirement.
It's listed under the state guidelines for it. It says that that's what we should ask for.
All right, so could the town say, we're not, I could see if you get down, there's a question, like what you just said, oh, I look at the voter registration, blah, blah, blah. And if you say, there's something not quite right here, I have the option now to ask for the tax return. Because to me, a tax return, I could file my tax return now and move out of Great Barrington in June. I'm just, I'm just really uncomfortable. I don't see why you need my tax return.
Okay,
And
I think that the
or the
details
town,
of all
rather not
that,
Emily personally.
I think that the details of all that could be worked out at some point in the future. But Madonna has her hand up. Madonna?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I took a peek at the participants, and I mean, I feel like we're kind of on a hamster wheel. And I think it would be really good. Michelle mentioned that Michael Wise had been working on this. I know Chip Litzer has been working on this. Since Michelle mentioned Michael Wise, I'd really like to see if we could go to some of the attendees, particularly Michael Wise and Chip Litzer, to find out their
Thank you, Madonna. I was also contacted by Vivian Orlovsky earlier asking if she could speak briefly on this topic. So we have 3 hands up, and I have seen that Vivian had hers up first. So I'd like to call on Vivian. Vivian, do you have some comments to make regarding this? You are muted, Vivian.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. I did a little research on one of the same sources that Emily was using. Emily has been doing great research. And I did what I call the comparison of residential tax exemption, all 21 communities. And basically 11 of them are on the Cape and Islands, and about 10 of them are in the metro Boston area. Nothing even I don't think anything is even in Worcester County. And one of the reasons is that the metro Boston area has a lot of large apartment buildings, condominiums owned by corporations that don't live in those towns or in the city of Boston. So they have a totally different segment that they draw on that we really can't draw on here. In terms of the Cape and the islands, they have a much higher proportion of second homeowners, or we would call non-resident homeowners. And the town of Provincetown has been used as an example, and I actually contacted their assessor's office and spoke to their assistant assessor, Carol, there. She was very helpful. I wasn't trying to be pro or con. I was just trying to get facts from her. She didn't have the exact percentage of second homeowners. She says it's usually around 80%, sometimes a little bit more and sometimes a little bit less. She said, what is it in Great Barrington? And I said, well, from the data that I've heard from our assessor, it's probably somewhere close to maybe 12-15%. She kind of got surprised, and she said, "And why are you looking at the residential exemption then?" She said, "It's not going to make a difference for you. You don't get the benefit that we get." She was very spontaneous about this. I wasn't asking her for any, quotes, and I certainly don't want to put her in an official position of quoting, but just informally and trying to get basic information from her. That's what I heard there. And also, there's another factor with Cape and the islands, which is that the highest tax rate there is 7.71%. That's less than 8%. And our tax rate is over 13%, 13.24. So I don't know if the term is percent. It's dollars per thousand, right? So $7.71 per thousand in Eastham, which is the highest rate. And a lot of them have rates in the 6% area. I'd say most of them are 6. Provincetown is 6.13%, or $6.13 tax rate on every thousand valuation. And the valuations there are much, much higher than here. If you look at the owner-occupied home value, and I was trying to look for the break-even point, even if with a residential tax exemption of about 10%, the break-even point was mostly in the over $1 million range. There were Tisbury and West Tisbury had over 2 million, and Nantucket had over 5 million. Well, that's really up there, and they have a 3% tax rate. But keep that in mind, that we're dealing with a tax rate that's in most cases in the 6% level, and therefore half of what we have just as our regular tax rate, not dealing with the residential tax exemption at all. And
thank you very much, Vivian. I think those points that you made are extremely important for us to keep a note of.
Thank you. I have one final comment.
Okay. But briefly, please.
Yeah, I've been called house rich and income poor because I'm extended in my retirement years, and I'm not house rich. I'm assessed value rich because my house is almost 40 years old, and I'm having to take out loans in order to make basic repairs like a leaky roof, which you just can't ignore. So my expenses have gone up. My income as a longtime retiree has gone down, and yet my valuation has gone up. So that's what's rich on paper or in on the assessor's computer. Thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Thank you very much, Vivian. Mr. Wise, Michael, would you please step forward? We'd like to hear from you.
Thank you very much. I'll be brief. I thank the assessor for making the correction about the difference between the average value and the break-even point. The break-even point depends only on the number of exemptions that are granted, not on the value. I am the source of the 90% soundbite, by the way. Every time I run these numbers over the last few years, I've been able to conclude that if we adopted the residential exemption, 90% of resident homeowners would pay less. The exact number based upon my recent estimate is 88 point something. This was based upon my own review of the tax records, going through the ownership situations to identify places that clearly would not qualify. I come up with a break-even value of around 950,000. If it's really 1.1 million, as Emily's rough estimate suggests, that would be extraordinary. I doubt that it's that high, but it does depend upon the number of exemptions actually claimed. Very quickly on rental effects, I've looked at that back when I did this 10 years ago for the Finance Committee, once upon a time. Emily's presentation to the select board points out something which could be done to help out rentals. I won't get into the detail. It's going to be in one of the other comments submitted to the select board. There is a program available to make available something like the residential exemption for rentals, full-time rentals that qualify under affordability criteria. Similarly, there is a program that the town has not yet adopted, which makes available something like the residential exemption to help seniors who are having trouble paying the taxes. Again, that is subject to some of the same considerations as the circuit breaker program, but it's something the town has not done. It could do to deal with the problem that Vivian mentioned. Otherwise, I will not give you my sermon. You can listen to Chip's sermon, which I won't anticipate it.
Thank you very much, Michael. And Chip, would you step forward? I think you're not muted. Now I can hear you. Yes. Hi.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I guess the first thing I would do is say that, and I've told this to the select board before in a different context, but I think the Hippocratic Oath is a good one for people who sit on committees like the Finance Committee and on the select board to abide by, which is first do no harm. I believe that the residential exemption would do a lot of harm. It would damage the town's tax base. It would damage the town's community harmony. It would be a short-sighted move that even its supporters would live to regret. And once the step is taken, unlike some of the conversation I've been hearing, there is no going back, because politically it would be impossible for the majority who would benefit from the exemption to surrender it. In fact, of all the towns that have adopted the exemption, none of them have ever revoked it, not necessarily because they were all in love with it. And in fact, some years ago when this issue was being talked about, some of our people had interviewed town managers at places where they had the exemption, wanted to revoke it, and it was impossible. It only goes in one direction. So the thought that, well, we can start small and we can just try it. If it doesn't work, we can snap back to where we were, I think is politically unrealistic. Now the $17.70 number that Emily used, which was her rough calculation that if there were a 35% exemption, the tax rate would have to rise from the 13 and change that it is now to $17.70. I want to put that in context. $17.70, there of the 351 towns and cities in the Commonwealth, there are only 7 that have a rate above that $17.70. The average residential rate for all of the 351 municipalities this year is $12.17. The reason that the residential exemption can work in vacation towns on the coast is that they don't need to raise rates very high when less than 20% of homes qualify for the exemption. In Great Barrington, if we believe Michael, 88% would qualify for the exemption, thereby spiking the tax rate, crushing property values, curtailing expansion of the tax base, and starting what I would call a death spiral of ever higher tax rates in an attempt to maintain the town's tax revenues. I think this would be a primary case of doing harm when the first mandate is to do no harm. And if you were applying for a drug with the FTC doesn't have to prove that it would do harm. You have to prove that your new drug is safe and effective. I do not see the proof that the proposal for a residential tax exemption at any level would be safe and effective. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Chip. I appreciate your comments. I have one other person who's attending, James Garzone.
Yes, I'll make this brief. Thank you so much.
Thank you, James.
The reason we're having this discussion is because we know for many years our financials are just not correct. And I really hope, instead of trying these gimmicks, we tackle the underlying financial problem that we have with this community. The RT split tax are just gimmicks. We need to rein in our spending, like Michelle says. We have Housatonic Waterworks that's going to be in the millions, not only to purchase it, but to maintain and fix these pipes that these poor people in Housatonic get brown, toxic water. The school is out of control. The budget is out of control for the school. That's going to be coming very soon in the next couple of weeks. We have to pay a $90 million bond. I don't understand why we even talk about the RTE if we don't tackle the underlying financial mess that we're in. And now Liz is proposing a 2.5% override. When will this stop? Go ahead and tax me whatever you want, but it's not fixing the problem. So I am begging, please, as a community, can we start having these hard conversations? As Michelle says, we have to say no. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. So Chip has already spoken. So I'm going to see, was there anyone else within the committee who has anything else to say? Emily, do you have anything else to say? No? We really, really appreciate you attending with us. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I
Thank
think
you.
I think we've had a very robust discussion. But I don't know that we're in a position or a place where we could take any kind of vote or any kind of a assumption that we know what we want to do about this. I just think this is the first step we had to do, was to discuss this and then wait for that other information to come out and look at that as well. But I guess I would just say my general feeling has not changed as far as the residential tax exemption. I think that we have to do the hard work of working on the budget over these next few weeks, a couple of months. That's where our focus has to lie. Is everyone okay to move forward to our next topic, or do you have something else to say, Michelle?
Just really quick, Rich, and again, I'm just asking procedurally how this works, because March 6th, were we supposed to do whether we recommend it or not to the select
Well, I
board?
believe that was the recommendation, but I do not see this as being a viable time frame. And
I
I am
agree
not
that.
going to run forward and make some kind of decision today, because
I agree 100%.
we're not anywhere close to knowing what we want to do.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were remiss in what the select board was expecting from us. That's all.
Well, expect or not, I don't believe the time is
Okay.
correct. Madonna,
yeah.
you have something to say?
Just that I don't think we're ever remiss. And I agree. I mean, we can see all five of us, and we need more information. We need to absorb this. We need and listen to, Vivian and Chip and Michael, and maybe welcome their input to the committee, that we can all read
Well,
their
they are all going to give input to the
Yes.
town as well, and that will be
Yes.
very, very important.
Exactly. So I don't think we're ready for any kind of vote.
No, no. So are we in agreement that we can move on to our second topic of
Here,
discussion?
Yeah,
Here,
Rich,
here.
we do have someone in the audience who has raised his hand again. I don't know. Chip,
Okay,
I put his hand down and he
okay,
asked.
Chip, you are muted, but your hand, now you're unmuted. Do you have more to say, Chip?
I do on a topic that's pertinent to what's just been said, not on what we were talking about with the residential exemption. It's a bit of good news, or potential good news. I know that the concern is about how the budget is out of control, and even the school budget. As those of you who've been following it know, that for a number of years I've been talking about the need to fix the formula for the allocation among the towns. Great Barrington currently spends, depending on the year, between 70 and 80% of its total local tax collection, property tax collection, on paying the school assessment. And Stockbridge is down around 40%. And the reason it's largely done on a basis of student head count.
Yes.
and we tried to do this. We had a regional agreement amendment committee some years ago with the 3 towns. What came out of that was a tip of the hat to my proposal. They basically adopted my formula for using the assessed property values, not student head count, for purposes of new construction, which means the new school is being built using that formula.
Yes.
But not for the 95% of the total budget that actually is the operating budget. And what we're pushing for is for the same thing on that. It can't be done at the local level because Stockbridge Town Meeting would never agree to amend the district agreement. However, it can be done at the state level. And after a number of years, with the sponsorship of Senator Paul Mark, we had a bill S407, which was in front of the Joint Committee on Education, which was sent with a recommendation and merged into S400, which is to basically form a study commission. It's probably going to get passed. That's the first step in getting this proposal ultimately presented as a bill and adopted. I'm not saying we're there yet, but it's actual movement at the legislative level. And the reason it can be done at the legislative level is that every one of the 58 academic regional school districts in the Commonwealth have a default setting which uses the formula that we're currently using, which doesn't work because it penalizes towns like ours that are kid rich and property poor relative to other towns like Stockbridge, which are kid poor and property rich. So it can only be done at the state level. The towns are creatures of the state, which means the legislature can direct DESE, the Department of Secondary Education, to basically change the default formula. And that's the way we can have it. What that would mean to Great Barrington, and it wouldn't happen overnight because our proposal is that the transition would happen through inflation, not through a overnight mandate. But just as an example, if you took in the current fiscal year and you used a formula that generated a single tax rate to support the schools through the 3 towns, Great Barrington taxpayers this year would have saved $6.6 million.
Wow.
That's not a rounding error.
That's great.
But over the years, I have not been able to get the select board or the finance committee to actually get behind it. I've been basically pretty close to a one-man show in trying to get this forward and in talking to everybody I could at the state level. So I thought it would be important for the finance committee to know this. And if you really want to fix our budget problem, you've got to fix that elephant in the room. And that's the piece of our budget, which, as I say, averages about 75% of all the local taxes we collect. And that's what we pay to the school. Instead of paying what we do pay to the school, if my proposal had been fully in effect this year, it would have saved us $6.6 million. And it only goes up over time.
So that's excellent news, Chip. Excellent news, amazing news. I did not know that. So thank you very much for your work.
I've been pretty quiet about it because I don't want to rile up Stockbridge. I don't want to create any legislative pressures from Stockbridge on our state legislators.
Well, now you have awakened the elephant, but we are in your court. That is amazing. Thank you very much, Chip. So this can toggle us. Do we have anyone's? Yes, no one's hand is up. So let's move on to our preliminary discussion of the 2027 budget. I'm sure all of you feel as I do, having received this book, that it is a starting place, but nowhere near where we need to be. Some of the things that are highlighted by Liz that we have been excessively borrowing, we are very much aware of that. And the idea that we've gotten into this cycle of using free cash in order to pay down the tax rate, and then in order to pay for capital expenses, we go borrow. I mean, this is an impossible place to be in. I, for one, do not believe we can in 1 year completely stop what we have been doing, because that would immediately raise everyone's taxes by probably 10%. And this entire concept of going for a Prop 2.5 exemption, I believe, is foolhardy. That is not something that we ought to be backing. Well, I don't back it. I'm not speaking for the entire committee. Each of you has your own minds and your own way of looking at everything. But I think we are probably in agreement over the discussions we've had over the past few years that everyone is concerned about the tax rate and everyone is concerned about everyone's taxes. So in order to turn the ship around, we can't do it immediately in 1 year. So I reviewed, I had a lot of time today to review just the financial summary. And I had some questions that I sent to the town manager, which I just want to share with you. Forgive me for taking a moment here. Sometimes trying to manage your phone is a little bit more challenging than other times. I will look at my sent thing. So here are the questions that I said. What would the estimated tax rate be based on the levy limit of 31,786,345, which is the levy limit, rather than based on the suggested override of budget of 36 million plus? We currently have only the estimated tax rate of 15.79 based on the tax levy, including the override. So I've asked them for what the estimated tax rate would be at the levy limit. And from looking at free cash, I believe the usable free cash we have is 6,182,000 roughly. Because we have to remember that 5 million or so is no longer in there, and it completely skews the numbers, and we have to keep that number in mind. I also asked how much free cash has to remain after we go through the budget season for any reason, so that we, don't destroy the town, and we have to leave some money in free cash, but I don't know how much is reasonable. And so at this point, does anybody else have any comments about the budget book that we received? Michelle.
You're muted, Michelle.
You're muted.
My husband would love that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for muting so much, because I'm sure all of the cat noise would totally overwhelm the meeting. But that aside.
But that aside, looking at, I agree with Rich. We can't take a sledgehammer to this and think we're going to solve it. It's not going to work. I will do everything in my power to fight an override. And I'm sorry, we're going to need to use some of that free cash.
Yeah.
We're going. This is not something, as Rich said, it's going to be fixed in one budget season.
No.
And to try to, it's a slash and burn type of budget. You can't do that. It's going to be way too much damage. And then, here's another thing. Oh, to fix it, we'll do a Proposition 2.5 override, putting taxpayers in a worse position. So, no, I agree with Rich 100% that we start the process, getting our costs into control, a smart budget this budget season, and we build upon that. And it's going to be painful. It's like going on a diet. It's like going on a diet. But in the end, I think we'll have positive results.
Thank you, Michelle. Anne?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think I'm looking at the budget, and again, I've just started to look at it. I guess as I think about going into this budget season, we're going in the same order that we always go in, which I understand, which is operating budgets first and then capital. I guess I'd like to make a request that we move quickly through the operating budgets with the plan to return to it, because all our big expenses are capital. And at least what I can see is the idea is to use free cash for capital expenses. And I guess I'm wondering, we're in a very, difficult budget year. I think we really need to look long and hard at the capital requests, and we know that the operating budget is lean. We know that. I don't think we see a whole lot of fat there. So the big money and the big expenses are capital. And I think this is the place where we're going to have to be tough and say, you know what? If we're going to really try to get back on track, I think, we open this meeting. I think we're just going to say, no, we just can't afford it this year. We just can't.
We have to use the mantra of, do we need this or do we want this? I'm going to say the Madonna mantra. And I hope people don't think that I've just suddenly become super religious, but I'm just going to say that's going to be the motto.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Milena, please.
Yeah. I totally agree with Anne. I think she's right on. The operating budget is what it is. There is hardly anything. It's all in the capital budget, and it will be all in the school budget. And that I don't know really what the plan is here, but the preliminary numbers are showing a budget which is already very, very high, with the enrollment going lower, actually to go up by double digit.
7%, 7%
Not
higher.
double. Yeah.
No,
7%.
No, it was not 7%, Rich. It was
7%.
Yeah, I saw
well,
seven.
whatever. Even so, it is a very substantial number, whether it goes 7% or 12%, what I got. So we will do what we can, but this is as Chip was saying, that's the elephant in the room. That's really where the money is going.
The thing that Chip told us about is the first hint of positivity I've heard regarding the school budget in a long while. So
it is, but I think it's still it's that whole process, because the number
we
of
know everything, and it takes a long time, but
the number of bills that goes through that process in Boston, it goes for years and years. I think he's done a great job working on it, and we should all be very appreciative of it. But what I'm saying, we are dealing with the budget. This is coming in front of us, right? So this
Yep.
is not here to count on it. So the question is, what will happen? What is it we can really, frankly, be able to control, and what we cannot control?
Thank you, Madonna.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you to Chip Elitzer. I've known him since they moved in. He has been an incredible supporter. He and his family have been an incredible supporter of the schools. Our children went to school here, and, he's really taken, he's a finance person, and he has really taken to heart this community. And, I'm glad he's still, trying to help us get through this elephant in the room. That's all I wanted to say.
Indeed. And we can remind Chip that there will be some vacancies on the Finance Committee in the coming year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, Chip, come on. You can do it remotely.
I should promote him to speak right now.
No, we are not doing that to poor Chip.
I'm teasing.
We're just teasing you.
Yeah.
I think Emily is still here. Is she still here?
Yeah, she's.
Allison, I'm sorry. Allison, sorry. Allison is still here. I don't see any other hands up from the committee members. Do you want to promote Allie so she can be around if we have any general questions we want to ask her?
Well, I'm happy, okay. So Emily, I'm gonna take you off the main page, but thank you
And
so
thank you
much
so much for
for all
your
you've done.
attendance.
Yeah.
Hi, Allie.
Hi there, how are you?
We are very well. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you for all the hard work you've been doing. And am I right that 25 is closed?
25 is closed.
Mhm.
Free
Yay.
cash is certified. Schedule A has been certified. So just in time for FY26.
Yes. I know that I threw a whole bunch of questions to you by email, and I'm not expecting immediate answers from you. But if any of them made any sense and was something you could let us know about, perhaps you can.
Well, I'm really not comfortable jumping into anything
Of
budget
course.
related without Liz
Of course. Of course.
on standby.
Yeah.
But I can speak if you want to just kind of scroll back here to the conversation about the local option excise taxes.
Mhm, mhm.
So I just wanted to just let you know that you probably already know this. So I'm sorry if I'm telling you things that you already know. But Massachusetts cities and towns may adopt certain statutes that authorize local option excise taxes on meals, rooms, including short-term rentals, and the sale of recreational adult use cannabis. Currently, we are at the maximum. Our meals taxes are at 0.75%. Rooms taxes are at 6%. Short-term rental taxes are at 3%. And the sale of recreational adult use cannabis taxes are at 3%. They're all at the max. The good news is that Governor Healy has been working on legislation called the Municipal Empowerment Act. It's been kind of floating around actually for a while now. And she's trying to give us some more revenue on the municipality side. So her recommendations are to increase the meals tax up 0.25% to be 1%, and the rooms tax is up 1% to be 7%. So that would be really advantageous for us if that does pass. There are a lot of other items in the Municipal Empowerment Act. There are some procurement changes, just a lot of things that I think need to be updated. So there's a lot in it. It's pretty robust. So I think that's why it's taking a while to get through. But that is something that they are working on, and we are watching it, just so that you're aware.
Milena, you have your hand
Yeah.
Thanks,
raised.
Ally.
Yeah, thanks, Ali. And this is really
Thanks,
great.
Allie.
So happy to hear that. Do you have a sense for how long it may take?
For the legislation to pass?
Yeah, for the yeah to actually become effective. Yeah.
Well, let's see. MMA, the Mass Municipal Association, and the members of many cities and towns of Massachusetts are really pushing on the legislators to move forward with this because, as we all know, Proposition 2.5 is very tight, and we need other sources of revenue to try to make all of our budgets work.
Yeah.
We're all in these situations. So I think that there's a lot of support. So I really feel like it's just kind of a matter of time. It just has to go through the steps, the processes, the red tape. But I think that the majority support it.
Okay. So you feel that there are a lot of municipalities that are very eager for this to get adopted. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and actually in this,
Great.
Boston is actually slightly higher. I don't recall off the top of my head if it's meals or rooms, but it's slightly higher on one of those for just the city of Boston. So
Oh, okay. So they are
I'm
in
sure that they're raring to go on it as
normal.
well.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any general questions or comments? Because I think at this point, all we can do is comment on the budget book because our real meetings aren't going to happen until next week. I don't see any other comments. Seeing no other comments, are there anything else on the discussion? Our upcoming meeting dates, it strikes me that we really have so many meetings on the budget itself. I'm thinking that this may be a month when we do not have a meeting because we have two and then we have two more at the end of March. Is everybody in agreement that we
I'll
will have
second
no
that.
March
I'll
meeting?
second that.
I
Yes.
agree. I agree. There's
Does anybody have any general feelings about an April meeting? I guess we won't know until,
Yeah.
pardon me?
TBD, can that be to be determined? Yeah.
I think TBD is probably an excellent plan.
Okay.
So thank you all. I don't think we have
I did-
now time for citizens speak if we have any other citizens who have not spoken.
James did have his hand up. Give me 1 second.
James, yes.
I'll just make this quick. Two things. One, the other thing that we never discuss, which we never have control over, is the fire district. That's a big tax that we always pay, but nobody has any control over. That just they select. Number one. Number two, maybe we don't have a CPA or reduce a CPA. We have hardship, so that should be considered. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. And any questions from the media for media time? I see
hand.
Eileen Moody's hand briefly, but then I didn't see it.
Yeah, Eileen, did you? Yeah.
Looks like she removed it.
No,
Oh, there it is.
No, it came back up. So give me 1 second.
It's just a
We can hear you, Eileen. We can hear you now.
it's just a response actually to James that the water district has its own meeting to which people can go and voice concerns, vote on what to do, etc. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you much. So I think we have exhausted ourselves for the evening. So I move that the meeting be adjourned. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I vote aye. Michelle,
Aye.
Anne,
Aye.
Madonna,
I.
Milena,
Aye.
and thank you all for
Thank you
attending
all.
and having such a wonderful
Again.
conversation. Take care. Say hi to your cats. Bye-bye.
Bye.